Breaking, the News Canada wants in. Hold on to your toques, folks, because we've got news so big it might just shatter the internet. Canada, the Great White North, is rumoured to be considering joining the United States of America. That's right, they want to become the 51st state. Now, we know you're probably thinking this is about as likely as a snowball surviving a trip through Death Valley, but let's just entertain this outlandish idea for a moment, shall we? Imagine Canadians trading in their universal health care for, well, whatever it is Americans have instead. So buckle up, Buttercup, because we're about to dive headfirst into this wacky world of what-ifs and explore the potential ramifications of Canada becoming the 51st state. First things first, let's address the moose on Parliament Hill. Why would Canada, known for its peace-loving ways and excellent healthcare, even entertain the idea of joining forces with their southern neighbours? Maybe those long, harsh Canadian winters have finally taken their toll, and the allure of year-round sunshine in Florida has become too strong to resist. Whatever the reason, the mere thought of Canada becoming the 51st state is enough to make your head spin faster than a Tim Hortons donut on a hockey stick. Okay, let's say, just for giggles, that Canada become the 51st state. What would that even look like? Would they get their own star on the American flag? Spoiler alert, probably not. There's already a lot going on there. And what about their national identity? Would Canadians suddenly be forced to trade in their beloved hockey sticks for baseball bats? Would their charmingly quaint towns be overrun with mega-sized Walmart parking lots? Now let's talk about the important stuff, breakfast. Specifically, the sticky, sweet, utterly delicious national treasure that is Canadian maple syrup. Would Americans, with their insatiable appetite for all things sugary, embrace this liquid gold with open arms, or would they wage a breakfast table battle for pancake supremacy? From A to Z, the Americanization of Canada, one stereotype at a time. Let's not forget about the cultural clash that would inevitably occur when these two North American neighbours become unwilling roommates. Would Canadians be forced to adopt American slang, replacing their endearing A's with a hearty yeehaw? Would their polite, apologetic nature be met with blank stares and accusations of being too nice? The possibilities for cultural misunderstandings and comedic mishaps are endless. Greenland from iceberg lettuce to hot commodity, so Canada's decided to bunk with their chaotic southern neighbours. But what does this mean for Greenland? This frosty giant, usually content with its icy solitude, suddenly finds itself sharing a metaphorical fence with the most, let's say, expressive nation on Earth. Greenland, despite being geographically closer to North America, has always been tied to Europe, politically nestled under Denmark's wing. But with Canada hitching its wagon to the American star-spangled train, Greenland becomes the awkward middle child at the family reunion. Santa's dilemma. Will he need a green card now? And let's not forget the man of the hour, or rather the man of December, Santa Claus. His legendary workshop, nestled in the heart of the Greenlandic wilderness, suddenly finds itself subject to the whims of American foreign policy. Will Santa need a work visa to deliver presents to American children? Will his elves have to unionize under the watchful eye of the Teamsters? One can only hope that the spirit of Christmas, coupled with the threat of coal in the stockings of every politician in Washington, will be enough to keep Santa's sleigh flying high above the geopolitical fray. Putin on ice. The Arctic just got a whole lot more interesting. Of course, no geopolitical shake-up is complete without a healthy dose of international intrigue, and who better to provide it than Vladimir Putin, Russia's perpetually shirtless, horseback-riding geopolitical chess master. With Canada now part of the American sphere of influence, Russia's Arctic ambitions just got a whole lot more complicated. Panama's Canal, America's shortcut, a love-hate relationship now with more maple syrup. The Panama Canal, that engineering marvel, that watery shortcut between the Atlantic and Pacific, that bone of contention between Panama and the USA for, just a century or so. Now toss Canada into the mix. Because why have a simple geopolitical equation when you can add another variable, right? Imagine their joy at having to navigate not one but two North American superpowers vying for influence over their most prized asset. Lock and load of timber. Canada's Lumberjacks eye the Canal expansion. Here's a fun fact. Canadians really know their way around a forest. And wouldn't you know it, expanding the Panama Canal requires a lot of lumber. Suddenly those Canadian lumberjacks, known for their quiet efficiency and love of maple syrup-flavored everything, become the hottest commodity in Central America. From sea to shining sea to frozen wasteland, mapping the new American road trip. Okay, let's face it, America's big. But now, with Canada as its northern cap, it's gone full-on continental. We're talking Alaska to Panama, baby. Road trip, anyone? Just imagine the possibilities. You could start your journey soaking up the sun in Miami, then cruise up the eastern seaboard. Next, it's off to New York City, where you can grab a bagel and a cup of, well, probably still coffee, let's be real. Finally, you'll reach the Pacific, hop on a boat through the newly renovated Panama Canal, thanks Canadian lumberjacks, and end your journey exploring the lush rainforests of Central America. Mexico, ay caramba, it's the neighbors to the north again. So picture this, you're Mexico, just minding your own business, working on your tan, perfecting your guacamole recipe, when suddenly, bam, Canada's moved in with the United States. And they brought their winter coats to the beach. Mexico, land of vibrant culture and spicy cuisine, now finds itself sandwiched between an even larger, more unpredictable United States and, well, more of the United States, only this time with better health care and a penchant for saying sorry a lot. Gulf of Mexico. Oil, beaches, and a whole lot of awkward. Remember those spring break commercials? Beaches, bikinis, beers. Yeah, those might need a slight update, because the Gulf of Mexico, once a playground for sun-seeking students and oil-hungry corporations, now finds itself at the heart of this bizarre new geopolitical landscape. Picture beach bums dodging rogue hockey pucks while sipping margaritas, made with Canadian whiskey, of course. When life gives you limes and maple syrup, the new North American cocktail menu. One thing's for sure, this new North American Union is going to need a stiff drink. Luckily, with Mexico's tequila, America's bourbon, and Canada's, well, whatever Canadians drink when they're not busy being polite, the cocktail possibilities are endless. Imagine sipping a Mountie Mojito on a Cancun beach. The taste of mint and maple syrup mingling with the sound of mariachi music and the faint strains of O Canada in the distance. From Brexit to Can exit, Boris Johnson weighs in. Across the pond, former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, his hair looking even more windblown than usual, and that's saying something, couldn't resist chiming in on the Canada situation. Clutching a teacup, or was it a pint of warm beer, he remarked to a gaggle of equally bewildered reporters.
Well, dash it all, who'd have thought it? First Brexit, now Can exit. Seems everyone's queuing up to join the good old US of A these days. Maybe we should have held a referendum first, eh, chaps? Give the people a chance to decide if they fancy a side of maple syrup with their bangers and mash. Of course, I'm sure it'll all be frightfully jolly good fun, just as long as they don't expect us to share our tea.
Macron's monocle pops again, the French perspective on North American chaos. Meanwhile, in the hallowed halls of the Élysée Palace, a storm was brewing. The grand corridors, usually a symbol of French elegance and calm, were now echoing with the sounds of hurried footsteps and urgent whispers. French President Emmanuel Macron was having a slightly more animated reaction. His hands flew through the air as he gestured wildly, his face a canvas of emotions ranging from disbelief to frustration. News of Canada's impending absorption into the American behemoth had caused his monocle to shoot across the room, a dramatic punctuation to his exasperation. The monocle landed with a delicate clink in a crystal champagne flute, a sound that seemed almost too dainty for the gravity of the situation.
Mon Dieu! These Americans, they are always so brash, so unrefined. They have no sense of subtlety, no appreciation for the art of diplomacy. It's as if they bulldoze their way through every delicate situation. Diplomacy is an art, a dance of words and gestures, something that seems utterly lost on them. They are like a bull in a china shop, causing chaos wherever they go. Only the china shop is the entire continent of North America, a place of diverse cultures and histories now facing upheaval. And the bull is, well, let's just say it's wearing a rather unflattering shade of orange, a not-so-subtle jab at the American leadership.
He adjusted his perfectly tailored suit jacket and sighed, a gesture that spoke volumes about his inner turmoil.
Honestly, between Brexit and this can exit, I fear the world is losing its collective mind. The political landscape is shifting in ways we never imagined. At least we still have our wine, our cheese, and the simple pleasures of life that remind us of our rich heritage. And of course, our unshakable sense of Gallic superiority, a small comfort in these chaotic times.
Angela Merkel, voice of reason and mild amusement. Is this covered under NATO? Leave it to former German Chancellor Angela Merkel, the ever-pragmatic, ever-stoic matriarch of European politics, to offer the most level-headed response to the Canada situation. Sitting in her office, surrounded by the trappings of her long and storied career, she exuded an air of calm authority. With a slight smile playing on her lips, she took a moment to gather her thoughts before addressing the matter at hand. Sipping a cup of herbal tea, no champagne for this pragmatist, she calmly addressed her advisors. The room was filled with a sense of anticipation as everyone awaited her measured response. She calmly addressed her advisors, her voice steady and reassuring.
So, Canada wishes to become part of the United States. Interesting. This is certainly an unprecedented development. Does anyone have the relevant paperwork? I assume there are numerous documents that need to be reviewed. I trust someone has checked if this is in accordance with international law, NATO regulations, and, most importantly, the terms and conditions of our free trade agreement with Canada. We must ensure that all legal and diplomatic protocols are followed. And, most importantly, the terms and conditions of our free trade agreement with Canada. This could have significant economic implications.
Her advisors, looking slightly panicked, shuffled their papers nervously. The weight of the situation was not lost on them.
We're still working on that, Chancellor. The complexity of the situation is proving to be quite challenging.
Merkel nodded slowly, her expression thoughtful. She understood the gravity of the situation and the need for thorough analysis.
I see. Well, let me know when you have a definitive answer. We need to be fully prepared for any potential outcomes. Well, let me know when you have a definitive answer. In the meantime, we should consider all possible scenarios and their implications. In the meantime, I suppose we should add potential for North American political instability to our list of global concerns, right after climate change and the dwindling supply of good-quality marzipan. The world is becoming increasingly unpredictable, and we must stay vigilant. And the dwindling supply of good-quality marzipan. It's a small but significant reminder of the many challenges we face.
The maple leaf and the stars and stripes, a match made in, well, this essay. Two symbols of national pride fluttering side by side, representing two nations with a shared history yet distinct identities. So there you have it. Canada as the 51st state, a notion that seems both intriguing and implausible, sparking curiosity and skepticism in equal measure. A concept so outlandish, so utterly absurd that it could only exist in the fever dream of a political satirist with a surplus of maple syrup and a severe sleep deficit. Imagine the satirist penning down wild scenarios, chuckling at the sheer absurdity of it all. We've explored the hypothetical implications for Canada, America, and the rest of the world. From the fate of Santa's workshop to the future of the Panama Canal. Spoiler alert, it now smells faintly of maple and regret. The whimsical idea of Santa relocating his workshop due to geopolitical changes, or the Panama Canal becoming a symbol of this bizarre union, adds layers of humor and thought. But amidst all the jokes, the ridiculous scenarios, the sheer impossibility of it all, perhaps there's a tiny kernel of truth to be gleaned from this thought experiment. Maybe, just maybe, it prompts us to think about the nature of national identity and the fluidity of borders. The world is a messy, complicated, often hilarious place. It's a tapestry woven with threads of history, culture, and unexpected events. Each spin of the globe reveals new stories, new connections, and new possibilities. Alliances shift, borders blur, and sometimes the most unlikely partnerships, like, say, a moose and a phone booth, end up being the most entertaining. These odd pairings remind us that the world is full of surprises, and sometimes the most unexpected combinations bring the most joy. So the next time you find yourself pondering the state of global affairs, remember this: reality is often stranger and funnier than fiction. The headlines may be filled with serious news, but there's always room for a bit of levity and wonder. And if you ever find yourself sharing a pancake breakfast with a Canadian, be sure to pass the maple syrup. It's a small gesture, but one that symbolizes the warmth and hospitality that transcends borders. After all, in a world full of complexities, sometimes it's the simple things that bring us together.